What's considered underrated and overrated is tricky to tackle. After all, these terms rely completely on the opinions of other people, and many may strongly disagree. A long time ago, I was scrolling through Reddit when I came across a post which I unfortunately can't find the original author of, but it's a meta meme about people calling overrated mods underrated, and a show of actually underrated mods. I noticed that the majority of these mods are somewhat OG or old. Regardless, we will review these mods and find out if they deserve more attention or should stay in the shadows. I'm Hegemony, and let's check the mod lineup. The underrated mods on this list are Versus Untextured Default Blender Cube, Livid Lycanthrope, Artistic Altitude, Friday Night Funkin Weak Sigma, Friday Night Troubleshooting, and Sinjin. As for the overrated mods, we have Versus Anders, Versus Neon, Pain, Suffering and Sadness, Dave and Bambi, Versus Cheeky, Versus Tree, and Versus Pom Pom. We won't spend too much time on the overrated mods, as our main focus is the underrated mods. As a matter of fact, covering overrated mods could be its own video within itself, but enough introduction. Let's start with... I'm choosing to start with Sinjin, as next to Weak Sigma, it's the only mod from the underrated list that I've seen prior to the early production stages of this video. At the time of making this video, the most viewed video of Sinjin has 1.1 million views and the mod has 16,000 downloads on Game Banana. So what is Sinjin? Well, Sinj is a fangirl oh my god. Okay, another fangirl, 2 normal songs, 3rd song transformation, post-weeks events, and song remixes. Now to be fair, Sinj is the host of this fire demon thing called Seer, who's only trying to break a curse by falling in love or whatever, which is somewhat more unique than these other fangirls, and this mod is 9 months old, so I'll forgive it. Taking a look at this mod, it's visually appealing except for when things start moving. The bar is a great background and is a nice and suitable location for Sinj. The color choices are excellent and bring that vibey atmosphere. However, things start to get jarring when Sinj starts singing, and no, I'm not saying she's a shit singer, I'm saying she's stiffer than rigor mortis. I get that she's a shy character, but her movements are so unexpressive, and the fact that you can see the folds on her clothes change when she hits a note is incredibly annoying. I feel like the animator had something going with these poses, but I had no clue how to make them work with the concept of Sinj being shy and scared to move. Now remember 30 seconds ago when I said, taking a look at this mod, it's visually appealing except for when things start moving. Yeah, Sir's section looks like a watercolor gone wrong. You'd think with a more rageful fire beast that's trying to turn boyfriend into burnt toast, they'd be a lot less stiff and have trailing fire effects or something to make them more brash. The fading effect is cool, but not as cool as what could have been. There's more animation frames in the background than there are on Sir's idle animation, Lord help me. Now I feel as if I should mention the cutscene, as honestly it's quite cool looking. I just wish that same energy had carried into the 3rd song. The only other things art-wise I have to comment about is how painfully looped Molotov's background is, and the wireframe sections being much less interesting than anything else, since it's stretched out over 4 songs. So from an art perspective, would I say this mod is underrated? No. But we have more than art and animation to cover, and I believe the redeeming quality of this mod is its music and world. So let's eliminate charting first and talk about those two. So the charting. This is me right now. The charts are boring and repetitive. Now I know this is due to the nature of the songs, but even then you could still do something to mix it up. No double notes, typical, but there doesn't need to be this much repetition. Sir's songs are clearly harder than the rest, and definitely more interesting, but that's because the charts get awkward in certain places. It's not exactly the best playing experience. It can be satisfying, sure, but it's not dynamic enough, so to give you the TLDR, somewhat satisfying, but boring. Onto the music, I believe this is the strongest area of the mod. Now it's certainly not perfect, Sinj's vocals are at a different volume for all of her songs, and most of the time she's too quiet, especially in duets. Now before you go, yeah, she's supposed to be quiet because she's shy. Yeah, I get that. In fact, I'll talk about it when the world and concept section pops up. But if this was intentional, then perhaps she could only go quiet at certain parts of the song, like when it's more low-key. If this wasn't intentional, then throw everything I just said out the window and fix your damn mixing. Oh, and give both Sinj and Sir bigger vocal banks. Every single song, including Sir's, seems to be super repetitive, and while I'm fine with this working as Sinj's gimmick, Sir's song should have been more chaotic. I say this for reasons I'll explain later, but for now let's talk about the 4 non-remix songs. IDK Love is a fun opener song that gets you started with what Sinj is all about, banger instrumentals and catchy repetitiveness. The pretty somber instrumental allows Sinj to sound at home with her quiet voice, however it should still be louder. The duets that Sinj and Boyfriend share are super enjoyable, and this continues into the other songs. Foam did point out that Boyfriend uses certain sounds a little too much, however I'm fine with this as it's built that way on purpose and serves well in tandem with the instrumental. The callback to one of the main melodies of the song right at the end is also super cool. While I do think the song is a little too long, the main rhythm is catchy enough to keep it going. Have a listen. Now Heartburn is what I believe to be the best song in this mod. I'm not afraid to admit I had this on repeat a couple times whilst walking through an M&S. Here Sinj is her loudest, and immediately the song is more upbeat, indicated by the instrumental which picks itself up faster. And holy moly is the instrumental glorious. If there's one thing the instrumentals love to do in this mod is hit notes in line with the character's vocals. Every single rhythm in this song is catchy and it's so funky. Sinj does often get lost in duets, but like I care at this point, the instrumental is oh my god! Unfortunately, the fun is over now as we go into Sir's song, Sid. As to not spend too much time on this whack-ass song, I'll keep it short and concise. The song is boring and uneventful for a rage transformation. Sir already having a limited vocal bank makes trying to save the song tough because the instrumental doesn't save it like it may do for the other songs. Some of the faster parts are nicer to listen to, but ultimately the only part of the song I like is Boyfriend. He has some pretty cool high-pitched vocals. The final non-remix song is Molotov, which is pretty fun to listen to for reasons similar to Heartburn. It has catchy rhythms which bounce across the instrumental nicely. This song also could have been a bit shorter, but regardless, I say it's pretty decent. For all of the Inferno remixes, I'm gonna round up everything into this one small paragraph. The remixes remove the charming simplicity of the original songs. All they do is change the instrumental slightly and add extra sounds, then spam more notes wherever they can. It takes what was enjoyable about the originals and Randy Orton RKOs it. The only thing that is better than the original is ironically Sid, because it makes the song much more intense like the original should have been. Despite all the glaring problems with the songs in this mod, I still think there's a big level of enjoyment to them, even if half of the songs in this mod are a letdown. For the world and concepts, there's a fair amount to digest. This is a pretty old mod, so I don't expect to see an abundance of custom notes or gimmicks, so let's talk about the other things that create strong themes. Sinj is a shy character, and the way they represent this is well done. We get obvious hints of this within the dialogue, but there's a nice level of show not tell going on. I know I ragged on it earlier, but her stiffness makes sense, I just don't think it's done well enough. Her soft and quiet voice is really nice. She could definitely be an imposter find you in electrical ASMR YouTuber. That's gotta be the worst joke I've ever made. The songs having a repetitive nature sort of makes me think of shitty love pop songs that are designed to be more addictive than heroin. It feels like Sinj is serenading Boyfriend. Heartburn in particular is my favourite because despite Sinj's vocals being drowned out at certain parts, it makes sense as the song feels like it's what her heart wants to portray. The upbeat and confident nature is how she wants to be, and her voice getting slightly lost amongst the loud instrumental and Boyfriend himself is a good testament to that because on the outside she isn't upbeat and confident. Even if this wasn't done on purpose, it works well. The biggest letdown to me is Sir. Sir should have had more build up. Things like more internal dialogue between Sinj and Sir or hints of Sir's existence through the songs would have made her release more of a feat. Or should I say it would have been a lot more fire.
Target neutralized.
Not to mention Sir's unintimidating stature and not even that intense of a song. What's hilarious is how the remix is more intense, and usually all a remix does to a song is kill it. If we round up everything, Sinjin Sir is a mod that puts all of its eggs into music and a few into its world. Art, animation and charting sort of got left in the dark. The songs are a mix between B and C tier, and while the remixes aren't the best, we still have other things like a decent world with decent themes. If there was more effort put into the art, animation, charting and tweaking of the songs, I'd likely say this mod is super underrated. But as it stands, I wouldn't say this mod is overrated and certainly not underrated. It's kinda just here. Let's move on to... You know, I was debating on whether or not to seriously review this mod, and I've come to the conclusion of, no, I'm not seriously reviewing this mod. Why? Because it's pretty bad. So allow me to turn into an off-brand British version of Pat God and Leg and get to the flaming on this mod. Bruv, tell me why you look like the beta version of a Gotti dipped in silver paint wearing your dad's suit that he takes to Job Center Plus. Why your mutated ourself look like you went down the Mario pipe Bowser was shitting in Inverbalist's Mario vs Sonic cartoon beatbox battle. You have the power to transform into all these characters yet you still choose to be your ugly ass self. You're looking like the average I'm 51 male and my girlfriend is 15 female greasy redditor looking ass. You smiling like you don't have two axe wounds on your head top. Because those crap you're wearing, bitch got the Yandi shoes, bitch got the these expensive, these is rare bottoms, these is bloody shoes. Except they ain't expensive, they're cheaper than dirty water from a stream in the Central African Republic and stained with the blood of a roadkill animal. animal. Brother got the flat-foot Jekyll M. Borden crepes.
What the heck?
You don't understand the trend, then why is you hopping on it? These songs are the musical equivalent of the Judas Cradle. Did a deaf person compose these songs? Knock off Symbiotic Doomfist big body ass. Kids these days, they see a hot chick and immediately buy my products. The only thing you're selling is a next day delivery, one-way ticket to the hospital for a burst eardrum and PTSD. You really are a flippity floppity bippity boppity ping pong hitting the gong, tuck a bell bong, hairline gong, long jong, breakfast pong. Alien Armstrong, come along, sing me a song, sense of right and wrong head ass. But on a serious note, this mod is nothing more than conceptually strong. It lacks many features that would give it the label of underrated or even good. At the time of making this video, the most viewed video of Versus Sigma has 483,000 views and the mod has 10,000 downloads on Game Banana. There's also a source material animation by the same creator which has 1.7 million views. Versus Sigma seems to follow the events of a character called Sigma, who interrupts boyfriend and girlfriend and takes boyfriend to his domain. From here, Sigma asks boyfriend to fill out a survey, which is actually just him understanding the power of singing in the Friday Night Funkin' mod. Then shit gets wild. I say I believe this mod is nothing more than conceptually strong, because taking one good look at the art and one good listen to the music, you soon start to realize that it's not that impressive, and while you could argue the art is passable, it's quite basic and the animation isn't the most quality rich. You can't even use the time period as an argument, because masterpieces like the full-ass Tricky mod came out before this mod. The Tricky mod is a year old, is time even real? I haven't even mentioned the charting because there's nothing to say. The only thing this mod has going is its concept, and that does show within the world of the mod, albeit with many concepts and ideas missing that could greatly enhance the mod. So what's the deal? Well, Sigma is actually quite an interesting character. Their gimmick of not knowing anything at all and just trying to find things to cling onto is very interesting, because it's obvious they have an ulterior motive of sorts. This is shown in many ways, such as their dialogue with boyfriend, telling him not to worry about girlfriend. They seem to be obsessed with figuring out the trend, and their angry transformation is akin to the overused trend of the 3-act structure commonly used in early and even modern Friday Night Funkin' mods. Thanks Witty, or Senpai depending on which way you want to look at it. Things such as Sigma creating an entire fake crowd or being able to do weird stuff to the screen hints at their other abilities of sorts. And the fact that they can shapeshift into many different people shows they must somehow know or have encountered them before. Sigma has no idea about rapping or singing, so it makes sense as to why their songs are bad, but there are several ways to go about this. On my rewatch, I thought the first song was bad on purpose, as it would make sense, but the other two songs are not good either, which takes away from the concept and makes it seem like less of a purposeful idea and more of a lack of skill from the composer. Sigma's vocals are flat and unassuming, boyfriend is strangely out of tune, and girlfriend has issues with her voice on the third song. It does seem like the songs tried to improve past the first song as Sigma adapts and learns, but damn, I'm dying over here. As to not be overly negative, I will state a few things I like about the mod. Aside from the concept being pretty good, the cutscenes are quite well made, and the in-game events that take place definitely spice up the experience. Sigma's clunky animation in their second form could actually work in their favour if it was executed better. In its current state, I somewhat enjoy the way they use all those different poses, and again with Sigma not knowing much about the trend, their weird movements could work in tandem with that idea. The one thing I haven't talked about yet is Fetus Boyfriend, which is actually a pretty interesting cliffhanger. Sigma making Boyfriend fight himself could have many implications and ideas put into it, but unfortunately, this mod is 11 months old and I couldn't find any update anywhere, so I'm just assuming it's a dead project with nothing actually coming soon. Versus Sigma is an underwhelming mod which evidently lacks in quality art, animation, music, complete concepts and charts. Is this mod underrated? Sadly no, but let's go on to something more interesting, aka...
To start off anything, I must say that this mod is very unique, taking a different approach to the typical Friday Night Funkin' storytelling. With fully animated cutscenes, voice acting, and a simple but enjoyable story, it brings a way of looking at the limits people can take with the game, and could be a breath of fresh air whilst using the extremely malleable creation style that the game presents to its full advantage. Artistic Altitude puts us in the shoes of Tossler, a downbeat dude just trying to get his musical career off the ground, and the story he goes through at a musical event, taking the original Friday Night Funkin' idea of boyfriend wanting to become a star for himself, and integrating that footnote into somebody else's side of the story. And before I go any further, it should be said that at the time of making this video, the most viewed video on YouTube of Artistic Altitude has 473,000 views, and that the mod has 9.8 thousand downloads on Game Banana. The art for this mod isn't that impressive in the way of being unique to itself, but that it lies in the fact that it recreates the original game style really well, being able to make it believable that this story could take place in the actual Friday Night Funkin' canon. These are just your average dudes in their mostly average world. I always find it really cool when people are able to replicate arcade style really well, and this mod is in no small feat to that. It always takes me back and appreciates the original sketches. After seeing so many new and unique designs and styles across the Funkin' board, some of which actually show up in the mod itself. With styles like the HD and pixel art looks, it's more akin to a homage in a way. It stays consistent throughout everything and doesn't strive off from its roots, from the characters to the backgrounds to the little props and moments used in the story. It's a great help in being your main visual aid to see the story unfold. A notable example would be the little abstract shapes coloured to the notes when Tossler plays his guitar. It's something we really don't see often in mods and shows a cool sense of intensity and power. Kinda sucks how the up notes with the little squiggly lines and they're green, so it kinda makes Tossler look like he stinks. Anyway, moving on. The mod starts off with the song Fun and Games, a really strong start to show us the nature of this new competition our protagonist is going to take against the Lightning Head short stack. Tossler starts off strong on his guitar, being able to blend really well with Boyfriend's vocals while standing out amazingly in his own right. The two are confident, wanting to present a strong start to the crowd, and with some catchy back and forths and a pretty sick chorus along with the rest of it, it captivates you almost instantly, and it doesn't let down from there. Real deal. Now this song definitely lives up to its name because shit hits the fan here. Toss isn't playing around anymore, showing Boyfriend that he isn't there to fuck about and stick his tongue out for the camera. He's there to make a person of himself, to show his ability to fight and his ability to win. The music picks up so much in itself as well. Tossler playing more chugs on his guitar, being more forward in his playing, and seeing if Boyfriend can keep up. He takes more time for solos, not really playing alongside him anymore, except for mostly hold notes and play along notes and so on. But he wants to be able to take his own stance, and is going to win, or at least try his best anyway. However, he may have been trying a bit too hard as the idiot keeps messing up and... Snaz really wasn't lying in saying this mod was very Scott Pilgrim-esque, huh? Just this time it's not a bass guitar.
I think you mean very Travis Scott-esque.
I wish to make you both perish. It was an honest, dumb mistake, okay? I mix up names a lot, you jerks.
Fix the Broken is pretty sick. With his guitar now destroyed, Boyfriend gives his opponent a chance to keep going as he throws down a microphone on the floor in front of him. Tossler sings along reluctantly. The beginning of the song quite slow with a lot of hold notes. Simpler notes coming from Tossler as he's not well versed, as Boyfriend who's more used to singing takes the lead. When suddenly the music steps up a notch, and a confident look spreads over the guitarist's face as he sings with more grace. Seeming to have something up his sleeve, and something he does, with the speed picking up, him spitting more notes, his voice heightening, and with a flash and a blackout, plays a higher pitched riff from his newly formed fairy magic guitar. Boyfriend, as per usual, shoots right back at him. I do actually have a bit of a complaint here, and it's that I'm not much of a fan of the instrumental being a sped up aim and break, basically, compared to the fuller sounding rock band instrumentals of the past few songs. If more of a full or a grand sound of a band was used, even taking parts of outside a general rock band, like maybe using some of that chip tune that was heard before in previous songs, it could have helped it not sounding as washy, and keep with the amazing tone that it's been carrying all this time, but overall that's just more of a nitpick. And along with the rapid firefight coming from the two, it ends in a bang, Boyfriend's health bar lowering as the gameplay comes to an end. Tossler stands up to a cheering audience. He won, and so rightfully deserved. On the other side of the story, the arc with Tossler's now ex, Indy, going into a singing competition of her own and trying to push herself to the point of almost death is actually kinda lackluster for such a cool concept. With the placement she put herself in, you'd expect it to be a little bit more sad or angry, but she just seems to be taking it all a little too well. Her being told that if she went any further would result in her dying was really overshadowed, and she didn't really seem that concerned at all. The songs too are also kinda boring, not being able to show many stakes, and everything just kinda ends before you really get to sink your teeth into anything. It all just kinda felt rushed or like the creators ran out of ideas, but her meeting up with Tossler at the end and being able to forgive and become friends again was honestly pretty cool and pretty nice to see. Artistic Altitude is a Scott Pilgrim-like story of a downbeat loser trying to find his way in the world, whether that be trying to kill an e-girl's 7 evil exes or fighting a tiny music machine with a Batman-like goal to battle every molecule of existing matter in the universe to get his talent recognized. The mod was extremely impressive to show its talent through its art, animation and music, and its show of being a truly enjoyable experience through its easy to follow and definitely easy to enjoy story. I implore you to check this mod out. It's extremely fun, underrated and definitely deserves a lot more attention than it already has. You know what, let's take a bit of a detour from the storytelling and dive into a mod more akin to our Friday Night Funkin' comfortability. Let's pick battle gimmicks. And what better mod to look for in searching up that kind of thing than... In more artistic attitude made up for storytelling, this mod makes up for in its playstyle. As this video is being recorded, the most viewed video for the mod sits at about 23,000 views, and with the mod having 15.2 thousand downloads on Game Banana. Also, there's a video covering the mod's hidden song with about 655,000 views, but that's like a foreign YouTuber and I don't know. So, what do we have here? You first get to pick your character of choice, each with a different power move to use in battle. Something really worth noting too is how every single one of these said characters is fully vocal charted and has custom cutscenes in the story itself. It shows the effort placed into something so unthought of for a typical mod, but very cool nonetheless. For brevity's sake, let's just do Boyfriend again. He appears in the default starting place of the popular 3D art and animation software Blender, with the infamous little cube shoved in the top left corner. He scolds Boyfriend for a little, talking about a monkey? Who's Suzanne?
Yeah, we had no idea this mod existed.
Anyway, the important part is that at the end of the little tirade, he says a little sentence to set you up for what lies ahead, saying that he's going to test you on not only your singing, but more. Before you start, an instructions screen comes up akin to a starting screen that you'd see in like Ultimate Custom Night or a similar game. After being told that projectiles and missiles, yes you heard that correct, missiles will be thrown at you whilst you're playing, you practically get shoved right into the action. I like the stripped back 8-bit nature of the song, showing that they're just as barren as the rest of the environment you play in is. The whole by the basics nature of a simple pixel drum beats and melodies and such match with its environment really well, and are a huge compliment. As we play, our cursor shows up on the screen, and that's used to be able to get rid of the previously mentioned projectiles. Those being the notes that the cube sings, slowly heading towards our player along with some of those missiles. This is one of those typical hit the thing before it hits you type deal, like an old arcade game or something, but along with also having to play notes along with that can start to show you the sense of urgency that'll be heightened later when more gimmicks are introduced into the game. Luckily in this case what you have to play is really simple and are mostly hold notes, so you don't have to worry too much. But I'll tell you this, don't get used to it now, because after this, you better get your multitasking brain ready because it only goes up from here. With the instructions screen showing up again, we now have time bombs to deal with, along with power-ups that occasionally appear on screen to be able to help us through our endeavours. Going into the next song, the chart picks up, giving small double notes and such, and you know what that means, even more projectiles being thrown at you to try and get rid of, alongside the new time bombs, which you now have to hover over for 3 seconds or they'll explode. See what I mean about not getting comfortable now? Also, the little cube slowly starts to travel up and down the screen, showing that he's starting to get more excited and more into the action, seeing you trying to push your way through. Better hit those power-ups when you can, or you may not make it out alive. After that whole roster, our little cube friend realizes that he doesn't need to give a shit about the instability. As he says, you're in his territory and what he says goes. Also, no, you can't leave, we have another song. So, what's on the agenda this time, huh? Well, I'll tell you one thing, if you're a digital artist or creator like myself, I'm sure the one thing that we all want to be rid of is a big f*** off error. In this case it isn't any different. So along with the new harder chart, the time bombs, and the new error messages along with the projectiles, you're in for a show. Also, don't forget that this is all randomized as well, so 3 bombs show up with an error message appearing on top to block it as the note projectiles are creeping in, and it should all turn in just a few seconds. If there was a perfect visual equivalent to my funny little neurodivergent brain, yeah, this would be it. To say that it's a shit show is an understatement, but if you want to step up to the challenge, hey, I ain't stopping you. The song then ends with a message from the cube, in this case being quite impressed, calling Boyfriend an interesting specimen. He would then go on to introduce a whole new jumble of characters, some well-known faces, others not so much. The cube sent them into his realm, probably to be on his side, but after that he has a change of heart, saying that if 2 of these people are able to beat him, he'll let them all go. Charming. So, with another character of your choice by your side, and in that case having a new power to use, you face off against the cube one last time, and in his final form too. He is now Slightly textured rounded blender cube. How exciting. With a culmination of all the previous gimmicks and an honestly pretty cool song, you face off against the cube again. With cool custom notes spiraling down the screen and a higher sense of urgency, you have to beat it with all you have, and come out being able to come out the dark grey wasteland, back to your normal 2D world, and to get some ice cream with girlfriend. What a cluster of events, huh? With a bunch of stuff being thrown your way, literally and figuratively, Untextured default blender cube keeps you on the edge of your seat and your eyes glued to everything going on at all times. It's a really good challenge to get yourself invested in, and rather than just doing a mob with the fastest chart of the week for the quadrillionth time, it's underrated in its new way of gameplay, and is very investing with all its little quirks and mechanics. But if you're more of a person for visuals, then this really isn't the mod for you, if you couldn't tell already. However, if you're looking for a good new challenge, definitely pick this mod up and get your brain just ready to overwork itself to absolute hell. Jeez, imagine full clearing these songs up, that will definitely be a sight to behold. Finally got past that endeavor. Hey, let's go get some ice cream. Maybe take a shortcut through the woods and go home, or actually, you know what, maybe we shouldn't. That could be a grave mistake, clearly shown by the next mod.
Now, I'm not saying that I'm a furry, but next up is Livid Lycanthrope, the first mod that I will be covering. The mod introduces the character Lycurgus and his encounter with our favorite dumbass couple. At the time of making this video, the most viewed video of this mod has 510k views and 17.2k downloads on Game Banana. As soon as it's booted up, it immediately demonstrates the amount of passion and creativity put into the presentation. The main menu and selection screen have been altered from the usual FNF selection screens in an aesthetically pleasing way, and the art used for the first week to show what's to come is just pretty. The cutscenes utilize a visual novel style with voice acting and instrumental music, which may I just say are so atmospheric and well done. I'll be covering the main level songs in a bit, but I think I honestly like the cutscene music more. They fit so much better with the mod's theming and story compared to them. Going into another aspect of the cutscenes, the art style looks really snazzy. It's very pleasing to look at, and it showcases BF, GF, and Lycurgus' expressions so well. As an artist whose favorite things to draw are faces, I paid a lot of attention to the adorable expressions that the characters were making, especially this one. I don't know why, but it has stuck in my brain. BF, my beloved. Anyway, I especially love the warm lighting in the very beginning when BF and GF are walking through the streets, and how it cools to a vibrant green once they enter Shadelight Forest. And Lycurgus' design. I'm not a furry, I swear! Lycurgus' large stature and big muscles, yet soft eyes, are just a very nice example of my favorite character trope. Looks terrifying and intimidating, but is literally one of the sweetest people on the planet. Though looking past my simping lens, I feel like his design is a little bland and kind of just looks like any other werewolf character. In addition, his poses are pretty stiff, and the animation is a bit clunky. Probably because of the double and triple notes that cause him to have a bit of a seizure. But his third phase form is a whole lot more interesting. Yeah, it is a bit overdone to have an evil third phase come at the end, but it makes Lycurgus' design a whole lot better. He's got a lot more neck fluff and spikiness to him, even a pretty sick horn and fire tail. I'm a bit confused on how two tiny scars became one big scar on his chest, but I don't know. I wish Lycurgus' basic design was a bit cooler, but it's still pretty nice to look at. But I believe the best part of the art in this mod is the backgrounds for the songs. They are so detailed and atmospheric, with ruins of a castle and a giant-ass moon illuminating the scene. And the freaking moon shattering for the last song is such a cool detail. It just ties the whole dark fantasy werewolf story together perfectly. Moving on to the music, Before the Storm is a pretty good beginning song, having a sea shanty or pirate metal sort of vibe to it. Beat drops are built up well and it has a memorable melody. The mod's titular song, Lycanthrope, has a more fast-paced techno style. Both songs are good, but neither really fit the story, characters, or theming of the mod. I did think previously that Before the Storm reflects Lycurgus and Lycanthrope reflects Boyfriend, but I think that is more of my own thinking than what the developers intended. Rejoice, however, seems to mix the themes of the previous songs in a climactic and awesome way. Definitely the best on the mod. I also love it when FNF songs have little bits of dialogue in between them, so hearing the howling, laughter, and is always super cool to listen to. Gets me pumped, you know? And the last song, Varkolak, is pretty good as well. It has a similar theme to Rejoice with a mix of techno and sea shanty type music. One part that I especially enjoy was the bit midway through when the background music softens a bit and we get to listen to some snazzy violins for a bit. Classical instruments always make music sound all the more grand and epic. But the biggest issue that I have with all the songs is Lycurgus' vocals. The robotic sounds used for his singing does not match his voice in the cutscenes at all, and overall does not fit his appearance or personality. And his voice does not change when he transforms into his final form. And the charting for each song, I'm letting Hegemony write this part of the script for me because my fingers weren't manufactured by God like theirs are. They claim that the charting is very fun to play because it uses more advanced charting with double and triple notes taking up the majority of the songs. They did say that the easier songs do overuse triples and it's not needed sometimes, however it isn't too big of a problem. The final song is particularly enjoyable due to the super fast-paced nature of it. The added intensity of the miss bar on the right forces you to be more accurate, but thanks to the excellent flow, it shouldn't be too difficult if you're skilled. The use of jumps for build-ups works insanely well, however some sections do jump in difficulty a little bit too much. Overall, enjoyable charting despite some of the awkward choices according to them. I do not understand how they think it isn't torture, but I am just a noob I guess. I believe that's all I wish to cover for this mod. Overall, it's pretty good and simple. I particularly enjoy the cutscenes where we get to hear Lycurgus' lovely voice and appreciate the art that portrays the story. It does have some flaws to it, mainly the unfitting vocals given to Lycurgus, his plain design, and the song sounding out of place. But other than that, a pretty snazzy mod. If you enjoyed the classic 3-phase kind of mods with a bit of a challenge and a beautiful presentation, check out Livid Lycanthrope. Fine. I may be a furry. And last, but certainly not least,
I'd just like to quickly mention, this was all written and recorded before Troubleshooting got a huge update, so all content here refers to pre-update.
this technotastic mod is as follows. BF gets sucked into his computer and confronts a virus named Torrent who tries to keep him stuck there for all eternity. So you know, BF's typical Thursday night. At the time of making this video, the most viewed video of this mod has 29k views and the mod has 3.2k downloads on Game Banana. The mod begins with a beautifully animated cutscene. I particularly enjoy it for its smooth animation, chill music, and friggin' BF, look at the guy! I also really appreciate how the ah and yeah in the music sync up with BF's expression. Really satisfying. And once we get inside his computer, we get to meet Torrent, who has voice acting and a very unique design. I love this design with disjointed limbs, new muted color palette compared to the original brighter version, and vinyl discs make a much better glitched out design than simple black bars like Pibby, for example. I also love the color palette switching for each directional animation that they do, and their voice is super cool, though a bit loud to be honest. But what I do not mind is the friggin' bobbin' music. Yes, I am good at segues! I absolutely love the soundtrack. You could play these at a party and I doubt anyone would realize it's an FNF song. Every single one is a bop from beginning to end. The song named after our main glitchy guy and Sensory Overload are both very strong starting songs. Torrent's vocals are so friggin' nice sounding and they are so upbeat. It honestly reminds me of the electronic music I used to listen to back in middle school. And when things start going south when GF disappears, Jailbreak friggin' delivers. It has a much heavier bass and lower pitched instrumentals that portray that sense of urgency for the two characters. For BF it's leaving his computer, and for Torrent it's keeping him inside for all eternity. I believe that concludes the main lineup of songs, since after Jailbreak you get one of those silly little ending meme things. After that, we get Bit Crush, which is another fast-paced song that has a beautiful break in the middle of it that I personally really like. And the background computer screen being broken was a neat touch. Then finally, we have the two 8-bit songs, Firewall and Sub-Zero. I particularly love BF's vocals in Sub-Zero. He sounds so expressive and unique to this mod. I have never heard him sound so good. Every song in this mod is a friggin' jam and one of those OSTs you can listen to regularly. My personal favorites are Sensory Overload and Sub-Zero. And once again, leaving the trending section to a Gemini because I am dumb. From their own words, there isn't too much difficulty within the harder songs. The lack of double notes already limits dynamic charting, but regardless, it could still be enjoyable. Jailbreak is a much faster song, but to help keep the charts easy, faster parts will repeat a pretty easy and familiar pattern. While this can be repetitive, it's more satisfying to pull off than other repetitive charts. The same can be found in Bit Crush. However, that song does take it a little bit further with its variation. All in all, charting does its best to keep it simple and easy, even when it wants to ramp up the difficulty. Very few areas feel awkward or annoying to play. If you are looking for a mod with an amazing soundtrack, please download F&F Troubleshooting. The songs are by far the best part of the mod, and the character torrent themselves are pretty cool. Definitely check it out for yourself.
After a lot of talking, I've still got more to say. In this round off, I want to talk about a few things. The first being why these mods would be considered underrated even if we don't think they are. Second, why they aren't as popular as they might deserve. And third, the overrated mods. Let's imagine this was more time appropriate. Many of the missing parts to these mods could be considered acceptable, such as a lack of gimmicks or in-game events. Another is the size of a team. Many of the higher quality mods that came out around the time of these mods were made by larger teams with more experienced people, so perhaps the quality of the mod is seen as somewhat disproportionate to the size and experience of the team. Regardless of what it may be, these mods are on here for a reason. Sinjin is here for its music and world, Sigma is here for its concept, Artistic Altitude takes storytelling mods up a caliber, Untextured Default Blender Cube takes gameplay gimmicks up a caliber, Livid Lycanthrope brings high quality art and fun charting, and Troubleshooting is simple but funky with its music. So why aren't the underrated mods popular? Well, starting with Artistic Altitude, it's very likely due to the fact that Boyfriend and Girlfriend are only present in the first week, Girlfriend only showing up in one song in the whole mod. These two are the characters who go through it all. It's about their story, so taking a different approach and having a mod that focuses on some other original characters is most likely the leading cause of this mod's low popularity. Untextured Default Blender Cube didn't get that much attention because it's all about gameplay and gimmicks, not about visuals or much about story, which is Friday Night Funkin's entire unique selling point. Without Friday Night Funkin's unique selling point, it's just another rhythm game. Livid Lycanthrope is not that popular because it's a furry mod. Just kidding. I think. Jokes aside, Livid Lycanthrope is likely not that popular because of the inaccessible difficulty of the charts, or perhaps it may have been overshadowed by big releases that happened around the same time as the mod, as well as when YouTubers uploaded videos on the mod. Take a look at what videos of mods were uploaded within a 1 to 2 month close span of Livid Lycanthrope and you'll see what I mean. But I could be wrong, it's just an educated guess. And finally, Friday Night Troubleshooting, which just got a huge update as I'm writing this. Fuck. Well, the original likely didn't take off because the biggest YouTuber who covered the mod was Flippy, and Flippy is nowhere as big as someone like Community Game. The mod also didn't really do too much, to be fair. So what about the overrated mods? Well, not a single one of these mods deserves to be called underrated. In fact, I think we can all recognize a very overrated one already. Every mod in the overrated section has over 50,000 downloads. I don't actually know about Cheeky, by the way, the mod got taken down, so I'm just guessing. I'll leave you to decide if the overrated mods are truly overrated or not, so feel free to comment. If you think this is the part where I say something sentimental about not worrying about popularity or just being proud of your hard work, then you're wrong. Roll credits! Woo! It's finally finished, a video which we put the most effort into and is also the longest on the Blood Clot channel. Yeah, making this video was fun at times, but editing was also a bit of a nightmare because Premiere Pro decided it didn't like me and the software was laggy as hell, replacing random fucking frames with other completely irrelevant ones, deciding it doesn't like MP3 files and a bunch of other stupid crap. But after editing for like 4 to 5 days, it's finally here. I don't even care if this gets like 20 views, I'm happy with the product. I also took some time to learn some new editing tricks, so the formula for the videos will continue to evolve. Stay tuned. In terms of life, summer holiday I guess. Experienced 40 degrees Celsius in the UK, which is not supposed to happen ever. And got KSI and Logan Paul's Prime Hydration drink, pretty cool, would recommend, very good. I'm waffling, fade to black right now please. Hey, you know what rhymes with Sigma? Ligma.